Good morning, YouTube. I am the City Prepper. Today is Friday, October 17th, 2025. So the headline is nothing that is not plausible, but is very likely to happen. 911 system is down or inundated, and martial law and terrorism to ensue. It's all over the mainstream media right now. Back, a month ago during the United Nations General Assembly in New York, there was a major article in the NYpost that the Secret Service uncovered a lab of thousands of SIM cards and phones that were designated to call, inundate the 911 system. Supposedly, they were found through multiple locations throughout the United States. This isn't by chance. This isn't a accident. This isn't just a over precaution. This was something that they uncovered. I don't know anything else other than that. There was no speculation. There was no suspect. There was none of that. It's all being kept in the dark and people out of it. So the idea of the 911 system going down as part of a terrorist plot is 1000% plausible, and you need to prepare for that. What would happen during that event? Speaking as a first responder, for those of you that do or do not know, I am an EMT, right? Speaking from a first responder standpoint, you're going to inundate the 911 system with fake jobs or inundated that real emergencies can't be called. You will be putting over fake jobs, whether it's person shot, you'll have EMT units, police units, fire units going to that location to render aid and to take control of the situation. You're going to have thousands, hundreds of calls through false, faulty locations, which is going to A, tie up the system, B, is going to cause the services, emergency services, to be deployed and spread thin, and C, it's going to take them away from the actual area where the emergency is going to then happen. You're going to have either a Mumbai-style attack, and this isn't all speculation. This is from Laura Loomer, Sarah Adams. This is all This is not speculation. This is what they feel is going to happen. You're going to have the 911 inundated. You're going to have emergency services deployed to certain areas where they will not be able to render aid. And then when the real emergency is going to happen, 911, you will not be able to get into to speak to anybody. And they're going to be able to cause widespread chaos, and emergency services will not be able to be deployed because of the robocalls that this terrorist organization had set up, and will prevent aid from being rendered or prevent aid from getting there sooner rather than later rather than sooner. So what does this mean? I've told you, prepare. You're having these ominous, non-specific threats being put out, but they're a warning over and over and over again that it is going to be a Mumbai-style attack, that these people are already here because of the 4 years we had the southern border wide open, and this is going to happen. Whether you believe Sarah Adams or not, because she was trying to sell a book and gain publicity for herself, but what is stopping Laura Loomer from telling the truth? This isn't make-believe. This isn't fear porn. This isn't clickbait. This is factual things that have happened in the recent history of this country. Look it up. Look up the NYpost article. A 911 jamming network uncovered in New York City, they believe had Israeli ties. And then don't quote me on that. I don't know if that was based on the information that I found out after the fact from friends in law enforcement, but it's plausible. You're having no kings coming over the weekend. You're having Trump saying he's going to deploy the National Guard to San Francisco. Thank you for that article, Miss Connor. I really appreciate that. You're going to have Gavin Newsom go against Trump because of the deployment of the National Guard in another area of California. You're going to have the New York elections, which is going to 99.9% bring upon a communist mayor and you've already had Trump speak out on that. There is multiple different things that are brewing in this country that is causing division, that is causing divide, and then now adding on top of it a terrorist plot to jam the 911 system, and then to have a multi-city, a multi-area terrorist attack to absolutely cause fear, mass casualties, and a loss of revenue. Because that's what's going to happen. When you afflict a mass casualty event, you're going to cause fear, which is then going to stop people from traveling, stop people from wanting to spend their money when they don't believe an area is safe. This is happening right before your eyes. None of this is fear porn. This is all documented things that have been said or have happened in the last 2 months. How do you combat this? How do you protect yourself? One, have a functional understanding of where everyone is in your family, your group, your children, your parents, your partner, your wife, your husband is at all times. Know the evacuation routes, know the egress routes, know the hospital routes to these locations. How to get there, how to get around traffic. You should know how to do all of that at the very least. B, have a centralized meeting point. If your loved one works in, we'll use New York City. If your loved one works in Lower Manhattan, okay, I will meet you by X or Y in the event of an emergency. Have a plan to have your children removed from a school with a trusted adult that your children know in the event of an emergency, if mom or dad, grandma, grandpa can't get you, this person is going to come. The code word is this. When I was a kid, my parents had a code word, pirate. And if the event that somebody was coming to the school saying that they were to pick me up and they did not have the code word, I was to not go with them. And this makes for even more sense with today's world with kidnapping and trafficking more widespread than it's ever been before. These are the things you need to think about. What are you going to do in an event of a Mumbai-style attack in your area? Are you armed? Are you evading and getting out of that situation? Are you engaging a threat? Again, look at the totality of everything. If part of your concealed carry is that this is meant for self-defense only, then I would be bound by whatever governing body, whatever law is in your area. I would not engage a threat actively. I would then protect whoever you're with and get out. If you're in an area where it's stand your ground, then you do what you are legally allowed to do and what you feel is necessary. If you're able to engage a threat and do it successfully, you're going to be hailed a hero, and you're going to probably have the key to the city and some streets named after you. I talked about in Patreon briefly about what to do in the event of an emergency if there's an active pew-pew going on in your area and you're engaging a threat because that's your legal authority to do so, or you're legally bound to do so. Have your loved ones call 911 if they're able to get through the system. If it's like the scenario I just stated, that the 911 system is inundated and they're not able to get through, I would start telling any first responders that come, make sure your family knows to say, my dad, my mom, my husband, my wife is engaging the threat. They are wearing this. They are a good guy. That's what I would do. I would start training that and getting it through your family's head cold turkey. I personally would avoid going to Manhattan or any large city, any large gathering until this whole situation seems to have simmered down. The fact that gold and silver are absolutely skyrocketing is of major concern. It's a pump and dump where they're going to get it so high, people are going to panic buy into the rising cost, and then they're going to dump it and render that useless, or it is something on the horizon that is extremely concerning, whether it be a financial collapse, whether this government shutdown gets worse, whether it is a Mumbai style attack or an attack on the 911 system. This isn't fear porn. This is documented. This is in the news for scenarios that are going or can or will happen. Look it up. Like I just said earlier, it was thwarted in New York City, and supposedly there were operations like this throughout the United States. And who knows if they got them all. There is not much time to prepare and to get your houses in order. And I've talked about this most recently, I believe it was yesterday. You need to practice your preps. Just because you have a Dark Knight Medics tactical kit and you haven't practiced utilizing, or you didn't sign up for the class on Dark Knight Medics on how to use everything in your kit, how to have things use multiple, like different things that they're not meant for. For example, one of your packaging is for your Israeli bandages in the kit. That is a plastic sealed item. You can use that plastic to then use a chest seal in an event of emergency if you don't have one or you didn't purchase one in the kit. You should have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down to Z for the event that catastrophe strikes. At the minimum, you should be carrying everyday carry items, a pew-pew, your first aid kit, a knife, a multi-tool, a blowout kit, IFAK, whatever you want to call them, water. In the event of emergency, or you're going to need something to drink. If you're stuck in a building for hours, you're going to want to have something to drink just to help calm down your situation, help you think, keep your organs going. Yes, you can go 3 days plus without water. That's not a concern. It's just these psychological edges that are going to put you above everyone else when it comes to survival. Going into this weekend, I'm not overly concerned. A lot of people on social media, a lot of people in the prepping community are concerned about No King's Day. In the New York City area, I am not concerned. I am concerned the reports I'm reading from Connor in California is that there is going to be an issue with this display of force out of one of the military bases in California that is going to incite people, making the No King's Day events in California that much worse. That is something to be concerned about. I think the protesters getting paid to be paid agitators is something to be concerned about. Do I think they have the balls to do anything massive to then cause the Insurrection Act to be invoked? No, but does not mean that it cannot happen. I am very concerned with what is going on with the threats that are being spoke about, how there's unspecific terrorist threats that are imminently going to happen in the next near future, or the next few weeks, days, months. That is concerning because it is so generic. It is so non-specific. It could literally be anything. And then when something happens, they're going to say, oh, we've been warning you. We told you this was going to happen. There's too much that is not adding up that makes sense of any of this. There is absolutely too many variables in here that are in the wrong or that do not make sense for this to be nothing. You have states outright defying the commander-in-chief. You have local government officials running for office talking about arresting the head of a foreign state. That would be Mamdani of the New York mayoral candidate, saying that he will arrest Netanyahu, which he doesn't have the power to do that. You have a government official who is supposed to be the voice of the people outright demonizing one religion. That is not okay. I don't care who you are, Democrat, Independent, Republican, demonizing one group of people because of a religious or political belief goes against the fundamental rights that we are guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. How am I supposed to have fair representation if I'm X and you're Y? That goes against everything that the Constitution in this country was founded upon. Everybody should have equal rights under the U.S. Constitution. Every American citizen should have equal rights. I forgot what state it is, openly said that illegals are voting in the election. That's a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Only U.S. born or people who become citizens are allowed to vote in U.S. elections. That is called foreign interference. Remember, that was the famous phrase they used back in 2016. There was foreign collusion and foreign interference in the election for Trump beating Hillary Crybaby Clinton. That is the definition of foreign collusion, foreign interference. I'm not coming across to scare anyone, and if I am, that's not the intention. My intention is to get your mindset in the frame of mind that something bad is going to happen, not if, but when, and what am I going to do to maximize the chances of myself, my loved ones, my family, my group to survive. First way is to be self-reliant. Nobody is coming to help you. Last night during the mayoral debate for New York City, they talked about how response times for NYPD used to be 10 minutes, now it is 16. It is going to get worse because you're going to have police officers fleeing the city for other municipalities because of the mayor that is trying to get rid of misdemeanor crimes, lower police numbers through attrition. So that response time is going to go up even more. So what does that tell you? If you are fighting for your life, it used to be you were fighting for 10 minutes, now it's 16. That's going to go up even more. So when you need help, help is not coming, or it's not coming fast as you think it should be or would like it to come. You're going to have to figure out situations on your own. That does not mean to take law into your own hands. That means you need to be able to defend yourself from serious physical injury and or imminent death. That's what you need to be prepared to do. Take that self-defense class. Take that tactical pew-pew course. Take a first aid CPR class. You need to know these things, and you should have known them years ago. But that's neither here nor there. With all this talk about these imminent terror attacks, you need to really, really have your shit in order. And I apologize for using explicit words. You need to have your house in order. You need to have a functional understanding and know the nomenclature of your pew-pew. You need to know how everything works and operates in your kit. You need to know how everything works and operates in your bag of tricks. Whether it's your first aid kit, whether it's your water purification, whether it is your means of cooking or heating an area, whether it is a limitations of your generator, you need to have a functional understanding of this now, not when the catastrophe strikes. When the catastrophe strikes and you're trying out, figure out how do I use a tourniquet, how do I stop a bleed, how do I use the quick clot, how do I use the generator, oh, will the generator power every refrigerator, air conditioning heater in my house? You need to have a functional understanding now, because when this shit hits the fan, which it will, you need to figure out what you're going to do, and the time to figure out how to use your preps is not then. That will get you killed, and that's a promise. That will get you killed. In a major catastrophic situation, if you are unable to functionally use any part of your preps that is a necessity to saving your life or someone else's, you or they will die because minutes will turn into hours, which will render it impossible to save that person's life or yours. So hopefully you are taking this warning and you're taking it seriously, and you're going to go out and have the time to either go to the range, to practice the self-defense, to practice first aid, or to start talking about with your loved ones what you're going to do in the event of this catastrophe, that catastrophe, this catastrophe, that catastrophe. You need to have a general plan. You need to have a safe word for your children, for your loved ones. The last thing that you want is during an emergency and you have someone pretending to be a police officer saying, come with me, come with me. You need to make sure everyone's aware of what possibilities and what things could look like. That's all I have for today. Hopefully you have a great weekend. If there's anything else that pops up with this No Kings, actually I will be on tomorrow. Tomorrow is No Kings. I will do some content tomorrow, a video about what's going on. Look for updates both on Patreon and on YouTube. Have a great day, be safe, and stay tuned for further.